And recording. Hi, everyone. This is David Gomez with the Latino Speaker Bureau. I'm bringing you a speaker highlight for the Hispanic Heritage Month series, 31 by 31. Today, I'm very pleased to introduce Barry Cordero, who he's joining us from California at this moment. So, hi, Barry.
Hi, everyone.
And you are a CEO, if I'm not mistaken, of a company. Hold on a second. I'm gonna have to.
Probably want to start with I'm a director and manufacturing director.
Yeah, because I was taking notes of your.
I have my own little consulting firm, but I mean,
Okay.
Probably talk more about the Medtronic experience.
The Medtronic experience. Okay. So today I have Barry Cordero, who is director of Medtronic, and we're just gonna go over your experience and what you've done over the last few years. So Barry, pleased to have you here. And would you mind telling us a little bit about your background?
Sure, thank you. Great to be here. Great to meet everyone. So my experience right after high school, because I didn't feel that I had that many opportunities, I went straight into the U.S. Navy, and I was in their Navy nuclear power program. This got me interested in engineering, and I pursued a bachelor's in bioengineering from UC San Diego. Since then, I've worked in various roles in the medical device industry, and most recently, in fact, for the last 11 years now, I've been at Medtronic and with roles with growing responsibility.
Oh, that's great. So just tell us a little bit about through that experience, has anyone been an influence to you in growing your career and helping you pursue your goals?
Sure. I've had a lot of great influences, a lot of mentors and coaches over the years. One that stands out early in my career was a gentleman who was a senior vice president in quality at Abbott. He happened to also have a similar background as being a minority, who was also in the Navy nuclear program. He was an officer, and one of the first African-American executive officers on an aircraft carrier in the Navy. So having that, similar background allowed us to have something to talk about, and he really showed me, how my military experience and how my background could be an asset to driving my career in medical devices. So I've actually kept in contact with him over the years, and he's gone on to start his own companies and become CEO of different ventures. And having somebody that can kind of talk you through challenges in your career and weigh options for different opportunities, extremely valuable. And so, I would definitely recommend to anyone to to find people that either have similar background to you or who have gotten to where you'd like to go. I'd say it's definitely been instrumental for me.
Yeah, and that's very important. I believe that's part of what we're doing with this series is showing people that they can get to that place that that they can build relationships and network that will help them, and I think that's very commendable. And it's really exciting that you had some contact with Abbott. That's one of the companies that I've done a lot of research for. So that's amazing. And also in your background, I noticed that you have black belt certification.
Yeah.
And to people, I know that that's an area that is very interesting to a lot of people, because there's efficiency, there's eliminating waste and all those things. How does that impact different areas of your life? Have you noticed that, at any point, you're doing something different because of that background?
Yeah, continuous improvement and Lean Sigma, I think, the reason it's always been attractive to me is because a lot of it, when you get deep into it, it's really based on understanding processes, business processes, manufacturing processes from the perspective of those who work in those processes, right? And so principally, there's this major factor of empathy in Lean Sigma when you really when you dig into it, and the idea to run a business, run a group, or even run your small unit, considering the perspective of those who work in that area and making decisions from the bottom up, from their perspective. That's always been kind of a core thing for me, and the mentors I've had in Lean Sigma, are definitely principled in that train of thought. Now, with Lean Sigma, there's all different facets of how people look at it and how they apply it, and many of what people learn about Lean and Six Sigma is based off of kind of a tools perspective, right? How do I save a couple $1 million, or how do I cut out some headcount in my process? And you can definitely apply Lean and Six Sigma in that way. But if you want sustainable year-over-year continuous improvement, you have to do it in an empathetic, compassionate, and humble way where you drive your improvement from the people who do the work. So that principle, it attracted me to Lean Sigma. I got involved in teaching and coaching, and then helped develop portions of the standard that have now become the Medtronic global standard for teaching Lean Sigma. And it's also been kind of always commingled into my nonprofit work.
Okay.
I was a board member in Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, and I eventually became the president, the chairman, and interim CEO a couple times. And the reason, kind of the reason I've stayed in Medtronic, and the reason that I get involved in Lean Sigma is that passion around the principle of helping people live their life better, do their work better. Community service and community outreach, specifically that with the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, is really focused on that, empowering the community based on where they are.
Right.
So, I mean, just to finish that thought, we do have this amazing community with so much diversity even within it. And so much of our community does not have a lot of experience in corporate America, does not have, a lineage of people before them in their family that can give them soft skills or help them navigate what is, a very dominant Caucasian environment with their own customs and traditions. So the society helps bridge those gaps, helps people understand how to navigate corporate America, and from where they're at, from a background of, first in my family to go to college, first in my family to get an engineering degree or a technical degree, first in my family the white collar job. So the bridge for me, that Lean Sigma principle of doing the work from the perspective of the people, and with SHIP, Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, doing the work from the perspective of the student and the professional, that's been kind of a driver in most of my decisions in my career. Where do I put my effort and time?
Yeah. And it's very commendable to take it on an approach that is empathetic, not just the bottom line, but, how you can help others. And, as you're working in Medtronics, you guys do medical equipment, correct?
Medical devices, yeah. Primarily
Devices.
implantable medical devices. And, the company has grown, and we also do peripheral equipment and hospital equipment as well, instrumentation and surgical equipment. But the core business and how it was founded was with implantables.
Yeah. And I mean, and this is an area that it seems like there's a lot of, needed controls. I know there's a lot of medical expenses, and if I'm not mistaken, I've read a recent article that the medical expenses in the American family is growing, and a lot of those are Latino families.
Yeah.
So it's commendable that you're taking that approach. Um, so let me ask you a little bit about what strategies have helped you succeed in your career. I know we talked about, you had that right mentorship and, this approach, that sympathetic approach, but professionally, what are some of those strategies that help you succeed?
You know, professionally for me, I've always believed that you should only stay in a position for as long as it's challenging to you.
Okay.
There's a principle in biomechanics actually that bones only grow in response to force against it, right? So if you don't have force against bone, then they atrophy. And I think that similar is true in your career. If you don't have resistance or a challenge, you tend to relax, and you kind of, you stop pushing yourself. And so one of the things in my career has always been to really take a step back and say, am I still learning? Am I still struggling? Am I still feeling challenged? And when that starts to alleviate, for me, that's always been a time to start using my network. Within Medtronic, I've been fortunate that I could rely on my Medtronic network to kind of move around the company, and they've been extremely supportive of that. But prior to Medtronic, I used my network to move to different companies and different positions. So that's been kind of my first, my first principle on career growth has been, focusing on that resistance, that challenge. I think that the second one for me, I've always been trying to round out my experience in the field, with different roles that are different than previous ones, different roles that bring me more difficult challenges and more experiences that help me become a more well-rounded business person. So I've had the opportunity to do work with suppliers kind of as a consultant, where we work on continuous improvement with our suppliers and their manufacturing. I've also had the opportunity to work in operating rooms with doctors, kind of on the front end of design and development. And then in different roles in continuous improvement, from teaching, coaching, to running a plant and trying to drive continuous improvement within my plant, not just teaching it, but also applying it. That's been extremely valuable. So, I think rounding out your resume and making sure that what you have opens you up to more experiences. I think for me, that broad experience principle has been very helpful. I recently read a book, where I just forgot the name of it, but the idea of the book is the difference between the tradition of trying to go deep on a knowledge path, like becoming a subject matter expert on one thing, versus broadening your experience through many different opportunities, and which one is going to result in much longer term success. And the book makes the case that broader experience helps you better in the long run, and that fewer people become as successful by specializing on one specific thing. And I found that to be true. I've never really been like a true expert on one thing. I've always kind of had a broad experience. And I think that allows you also to stay humble, and knowing that you're never the expert, that you really need to rely on those people around you that have more knowledge or different experience. And that diversity of thought and diversity of experience, I think, can help a team and a whole company become more successful.
Yeah. No, that's really good. So as you broaden your experience, is it ever challenging to a point that it makes you know, hesitate to push, because that was one of the subjects that I had on a different call, that sometimes this speaker had a similar approach, but he said that he always had to wrestle with that uncertainty. Hey, you know, am I good enough to pursue this? Is that something that you cope with?
Yeah, I think I think a lot of people, especially those who do not make up the majority cultural population at a company, have some amount of, I guess, imposter syndrome, where you feel like, you know, maybe I don't belong here, maybe I'm not really good enough. They're just being nice to me to let me try that out. And I think, you know, most people, especially minorities, experience some amount of that imposter syndrome. Um, I think, you know, I think that's going to be a challenge. And um, a lot of people, what I hear too, especially from Latinos, is they do a good job of building a network with other Latinos and finding people who are similar to them with similar backgrounds, and kind of building that, you know, that team to support each other. I think that's good, but what's better, in my opinion, is building bridges to people of the dominant ethnicity to help you understand, you know, their cultural norms, and help them to understand your own cultural norms. I mean, the less that you feel like an other, and less that you speak about others as an other, you know, as a different ethnicity or different race, and more that you understand them as people, and how their cultural differences drive their decisions, the easier it is for you to navigate those careers, and it's easier for them to speak about you, and to speak for you or sponsor you on your behalf when you're not around. So I think, in my opinion, that imposter syndrome can really be managed by broadening your network, by, you know, getting informational interviews with people who aren't like you, but are in positions that are influential and meaningful in the company, and that can those relationships can help you drive your career.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So since we're doing this series for the Hispanic Heritage Month, we're asking our speakers to share a little bit of how they keep their Hispanic heritage alive.
Okay, that's an interesting question, because even the phrase Hispanic heritage probably has multiple different meanings to different people, depending on, you know, where they grew up and where their family is from. You know, for me, I always try to find a way to involve myself in some type of community activities, whether that be through SHIP or through the employee resource groups, or ethnicity networks within my company. So what I do is I lead the Latino recruiting initiative, with a small team of other Latino executives within Medtronic, and our role is to help find top talent who is Latino. So we work with, you know, recruiting events. We work with college career fairs. We work on diversity career fairs, and help to present the company in as good a light as possible, to show what opportunities and what network we have for the Latino community, so that when they do come to Medtronic, they have a family, they have a career. So that's one way. And then, you know, locally, and then, you know, through my network, whenever I have the opportunity, I'll provide workshops or coaching, or resume review for Latino students who are looking to develop their career. So for me, it's, you know, it's really been community outreach to help me stay kind of connected to my community.
Okay. And so you working with those students mainly in engineering, or you know, just are you just open for them to reach out to you?
No, you know, I don't ever go looking for people to mentor, but, you know, I usually get referred. The majority of the students that I've mentored are engineering students, although I've mentored plenty of core science students, you know, biology, microbiology, chemistry. But typically, I end up talking to students and young professionals who, just are early in their career or about to start their career, and they're not really sure how to even get started, how to navigate the recruiting process, and how do I get started and not get lost in the masses of people at this large company that I've been recruited to. So a lot of the times I work in that area. Some of those relationships just come out of the recruiting that we do. When you're on campus and you're working to try to recruit top talent and people aren't necessarily ready. Some of them, have enough, enough guts to say, I know I'm not ready, but could you help me? What can I do to be better? And, it's really hard to turn somebody down who's putting themselves out there. So whenever I can and I have enough time, I'll try my best to help people.
Do you see an improvement in rates, I guess, of Hispanics being represented in STEM programs?
Absolutely. Actually, over the last 15 years, the representation of Latinos in STEM careers, and especially those who attain careers, have increased tremendously. I used to know the statistics when I was the CEO of SHIP, but at this time I can't remember. But there was a time when I was working in SHIP, the representation was less than 10%, and within 10 or 15 years, it had grown to over 15% of all engineering degree holders, were Latino. So that was a huge shift in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
I think SHIP and other nonprofit organizations had a big role in helping with those rates. But what's interesting is that many of the companies, they haven't kept up to date on their data. So they have this underlying assumption that, well, only 10% of the degree holders are Latino, so I should be targeting maybe just 10% of my early career to be represented by Latinos. And that's not true, and it's changing, and it's different in every state, especially like in California or New York. There's such a large population of Latinos, it doesn't make sense to target such a low representation in your recruiting pool.
Yeah,
so yeah, no, it's been changing drastically, and it's really exciting to be able to, to see not just so much talent, but so much good prepared talent. Students every year just seem more and more ready to get into careers like Medtronic and other technical companies.
Okay. All right. So my last question to you is, if you wouldn't mind sharing what's in the horizon, what new projects are working on, or in initiatives, professionally or personally. Yeah.
Okay. It's a good question. I think professionally, I've been in my role. I lead the manufacturing for continuous glucose sensors in Medtronic Diabetes in Northridge. And so I've been doing that for a few years, and we've really been focused on stabilizing manufacturing. And when you're in manufacturing, you really want to be boring. You want to be extremely reliable, predictable. And that's kind of one version of stable. So we've been very focused on that, and we've driven a lot of success and stability here. So I'm not really sure what is next in my career. We still have plenty of work to do here. But what's been exciting is, mergers and acquisitions are back on the table for Medtronic Diabetes. And recently we announced an acquisition of a company called Companion Medical. Okay. And they're a smart pen company, which is one of the newer interesting trends in type 1 diabetes, integrating smart pen technology into continuous glucose monitoring. So for me, I had the opportunity to help evaluate Companion Medical from a manufacturing perspective and help, make the recommendation to do that acquisition, which was just announced the other day. So opportunities like that are really exciting. They're not super common. Not everyone really gets that chance to go evaluate a company. So yeah. I really enjoyed that. I love doing that. on my, I guess on my own private business, you know, I continue to look for speaking opportunities and opportunities to serve on corporate boards and nonprofit boards. So that kind of takes up some of my ample free time after
Yeah.
my day job.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you know, it's hard to know where things are going with the pandemic and, you know, with all the changes in our industry that has been pretty affected by the pandemic, and, you know, the kind of the masses that are using the hospitals right now. It makes elective surgeries and things like that less common. So it completely changes the dynamic of medical devices. So I think we're seeing what's next, and I think we're trying to be prepared to adapt to the changing environment.
Yeah. Well, just want to go ahead and take some time to thank you, you know, for taking out time on, you know, your day to you know, to have this conversation with us for the Latino Business Speaker Bureau. And so, you know, on behalf of the team, we're very thankful and very grateful.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to working with you guys and anyone else who's interested in hearing more stories like this. Thank you all.
Absolutely. Thank you.